G'day guys, it's Calvin here from the Car Tune Company in New Zealand. I've been wiring up a 1UZ Vvti throttle body, and I'm going to do a setup of the link ECU to control that throttle body. A few things that are important. You need to connect the motor positive and motor negative. You need to connect the accelerator position sensor and the throttle position sensor. And you need to connect the clutch unit, which is in the throttle body. Those are all important. There is wiring for that in the help file of PC Link. This one goes to the motor and to the clutch. This plug here is for the throttle position sensor, which is down here. And this is the accelerator position sensor. Those are the main components of this. It's also important for safety reasons to have a separate relay. The ECU detects a fault of any kind. It will turn off the drive-by-wire relay and limit engine speed. Maximum revs will be 1800 RPM. It's important that it's set up properly, and it's not a really tricky process, though there's lots of little tricks and tips and pitfalls that you can fall into if you don't do it right. I've got my PC Link going here, and we're going to start off by setting things up in it. If you want to see the whole setup of this Vvti engine, I've done a video on that as well. This one is just going to be the drive-by-wire. So let's get into PC Link and see what we can do. Righty-ho, I've already got PC Link open. There is a really helpful is help at the top of the screen here. It brings up this, and you can type in, let's search electronic throttle. There we go, e-throttle. And there's a whole lot of stuff in here all about setting it up. E-throttle APS. Here's some information about that accelerator position sensor. So lots of good information there. And I think if I go in contents, and here's some more e-throttle information here. I think there's some specifics. If I go down here and I do output wiring, e-throttle, it's just some generic pictures, and I think I've got some specifics with a Toyota one right there. And that throttle body, it actually happened to be mine. So Link took my throttle body and made up these settings and did some testing with one of my own throttle bodies. Right, so I've got my auxiliary 9 and 10 as e-throttle, positive and negative. And I've got e-throttle relay on auxiliary 8. I've just plugged in the acceleration position sensor, and we're going to calibrate that. I'm in the wrong place. Just going to close a few of these down, eh? In the auxiliary outputs, there's my e-throttles. Just got rid of all those. Right. So we have the electronic throttle table here. I'm in the setup mode as well, and here is whatever I'm working on at that time. So I've opened eThrottle 1, gone into eThrottle 1 setup, and see here it's got eThrottle mode on that means that's working, it's on. If it says it's off, it's off, but I want the other one, on setup mode. It's going to give me a little warning. There it is. It says, this will disable all e-throttle safety systems. Under no conditions should the vehicle be driven. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and it faults and you've got your laptop and you're annoyed, you put it on this one and you drive home and you sort it at home. Saves you doing silly things. Right, here's some numbers. And we're going to go into that acceleration position sensor. And I think if I tick that now, yes. So it brings up the little, click on the little spanner. This will calibrate the accelerator position sensor. Make sure you have one channel set to APS main, one set to APS sub. If you're into a bit of bondage, you definitely want your main and your sub. I think they call them a dom and a sub. Rightio. It says I've got to press the throttle down. So I'm just going to disappear off the screen for a little bit. And we open it up. Press the pedal down. Release the pedal. And I'm done. And we'll store that to the ECU. This figure here should actually be different because the second sensor stops moving. We're going to look at some runtime values. This is what they're for. We click along, e-throttle menu. APS main, APS sub. I'm going to manually type in where the sub sensor goes, stops moving, it maxes out, and that was about 66. I'm going to store that to the ECU. We're just going to do that yet again because I just wasn't happy with it. Because the other thing that these do is they don't sit all the way to shut. So you see here, it doesn't go all the way shut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually manually put it all the way down. Here we go. So I'm pushing that butterfly closed as much as I can. And now I will check where it goes to 100%. 60. 60.3. Store that in. And now we'll run through it again just to check. About there's 100%. Perfect. So I'm now happy with the APS. One of the tricky things with these throttle bodies is the fact that the APS is on the throttle body. Normally you'd have an external pedal unrelated to the gears on the throttle, and it would work from closed to open, and when you closed it, it would go all the way closed. but the VVTi ones don't go all the way closed. And this will cause errors if you don't set it up correctly. So that bit's done. We're going to move on now to doing the TPS. So far, I haven't had the TPS plugged in or the throttle motor. I started with the APS, and now let's plug the throttle motor in. Check it doesn't bang all the way open. If it does, you've got them around the wrong way, the positive and negative of the motor. Before we plug the drive-by-wire motor in, we're going to set it up as per that link diagram. It tells us a lot of information on there. Also take note of this plug. If you set it up like a factory one using the factory diagrams, you're going to have a problem. Follow the link ones and that'll get it correct. Also important that it says to set up one of the auxiliary outputs, not a fuel or ignition, as a test PWM at 250 Hz. It's at the bottom of the screen. So we pop in test PWM. I've written it in as the drive-by-wire clutch with a 250 Hz. And we'll connect that into the ECU. Yes, I do. And we will save that. Now we can plug that motor in, and hopefully it'll make a humming noise and won't go to full throttle. Let's give it a try. The numbers in there that are close enough that it almost works. Let's calibrate that throttle position sensor. Righto, we pop into here. We go down. We can close that up actually. E-throttle, throttle position sensor. Throttle position sensor. Click the little spanner. Read the little warning and put yes, we want to do that. And the throttle's actually moving itself right now. Looks good to me. Righty-ho. The TPS seemed to calibrate up quite nicely. But let's show you that from outside, shall we? So I click. It's really hard to see that screen, eh? I don't really care. We have this little thing here, and we're going to push the OK button. You guys are going to go over here. You guys go there. Okay, so I'm not there, and I'm pushing the OK. Oh wait, let's try that again. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go. Starting the calibration. Oh, it opens itself. Woo. Doop. It's telling me it's finished. And look at that. It has finished. Close. Now that I've set the throttle, I need to go into setup again, setup mode, turn it on, job done, store that to the ECU. I've got no fault codes, got no error codes. Let's see if it works. Okay, let's see if I can make it faster, shall we? Let's put some new numbers in and speed it up a bit. Now that is fast. Whoop, whoop. Some of the great things about drive-by-wire throttle, of course, is it integrates all of the idle speed, so that's really cool. We can do things like anti-lag, launch control with the throttle. I can integrate those settings, and because we've got full control of it, I've just sped it up a little bit, and I'm also going to change the target. Oh, I've already changed this table. So what I've got is the first part of the throttle is very progressive, and the second half of the throttle is very rapid, which really suits a race car. I'll show you a little bit about the tables and the setting of the e-throttle as well. Let's pop into that link software and have a bit of a look. Okay, e-throttle target number 1, e-throttle 1 target. There we go. That was easy, eh? Oh. So these numbers here represent the percentage of opening of the throttle. So there's your idle numbers there, and as the throttle opens, as the AP percentage increases, it opens the throttle. And you'll see this one, the bottom end is quite linear, and it opens up a bit more as you get up in the top. It becomes pretty much progressional with these numbers here. I could dumb it down a little bit, and so I could actually change this, and I could drop this back to a 10%, and I could drop this one down, and it would open a lot slower to begin with and then ramp it up later on. But you can do pretty much what you want with that settings, and or possibly once you're up in the revs you could open it faster. But this doesn't allow for cold start, or your increase in idle and cold start. So this is where, just to make it fun, we use the idle speed numbers somewhere else. Going back to idle speed control here. So we do have a choice between open loop and closed loop in the throttle. Hopefully you know the difference. One, it'll just go to the numbers that you give it. The other one, it will aim for your target. So if it's aiming for your target, these are the numbers that it will be aiming for. So you can adjust them where you want. You don't have to turn the throttle on to adjust. You can just adjust the numbers. And then you've got this base idle position. So this is where you got that cold idle up. So it adds extra to it. You monitor it through here. So you can see at the moment we've got a base target of 0.5. That is from this table. Come back. So, no, sorry. This one. Come back. So there's our 0.5. And then it's got this offset. Here's our 0.5. And the reason you also have this, watch this, if I go across here, if I do a page up, it moves it up 1 unit. And in 1 unit in this case is 0.5%, which is often too much of a change. So you set that low and you do the difference with this base position table. You can see here, this is where it's presently idling, or the temperature is at 20. So it adds on that 2.2 on, giving you a total of 2.7, which is pretty easy maths, really, isn't it? You can see here, these ones, I could have it at 1 on the target map and then 0.1 on this map, but it doesn't give you any adjustment. So this way, at least I have some adjustment on the idle speed if I want to. So that's how you set up those numbers. Pretty straightforward. There's a little bit to get it right. But just, if you're setting it up, have a play until you get it how you like it. And it's a good way to learn. And give it a quick test to check it doesn't fault. That one passes. Of course, it will be set up properly once it's on the vehicle, but for now, that's working kind of like it should. Righto. We've now got a throttle that works. It's doing what it should, opening and closing. That's really good. So I'm pretty happy with that, doing things like it should. But I did talk about all the problems that they can have. I think what I'm going to do is do some reverse engineering and make some faults. But for right now, let's just cross our fingers and say we used the right figures and got a throttle that worked just fine. We've turned it on, it's working, we're happy. Watch out for the next video where it doesn't work. Hope that was helpful. We'll talk to you again soon. Catch you later.